Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I am Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen.
Joshua, looks like you got a haircut, and you know what that looks like? A Miami haircut. Tell us everything about Possible. But before we get to that, wait a minute. We have an amazing interview with Zach Miller coming up that he talks about all the things going on with Jesser and Bucketsquad. He's the president of JesserCo. And it's going to be awesome. But okay, sorry, back to you, your haircut in Miami and that tan. Go on.
I didn't get a haircut in Miami. I got a barber here in Rutherford, New Jersey, who I love.
Okay, great. Okay,
in any case, I was in Miami for Possible, which is a huge, basically started as an advertising technology convention. You have all these suppliers for the ad tech industry and MarTech industry there, and it's their big, huge event of the year. It has slowly evolved into more of just a general marketing conference, but it takes over the Fontainebleau at Miami, the Eden Rock at Miami, multiple hotels, all the outside areas. There's like giveaways for days.
Oh, got some good swag.
Some decent swag. Okay, yeah, great. For sure.
Okay, by the way, we should mention that last weekend I saw you in person, and every time I see you, our children hung out in New York City. And I sort of commented, you were wearing the Nelk Boys Happy Dad like sweatshirt and hat, and I was like, is like 95% of your attire just like swag and free giveaways? To which you answered, yes.
Definitively yes.
Yes, go on.
If you have a t-shirt or hoodie or anything to give me, I'll definitely wear it.
Yeah.
And so it's turned into this marketing conference as well, where they had some big people there. YouTube's chief business officer, Mary Ellen Coe, was on stage with Kanigra Dion. Dar Mann spoke with Katie Feeney on a panel about YouTube and integrating brands and sponsorships into the YouTube ecosystem.
Which they've been doing a lot of recently, which is very interesting. Which is what Dar's been doing with brands. Yeah.
And then Issa Rae was there.
Love. Issa
Rae, from famously one of the darlings of the web to mainstream entertainment trajectories. She started with Confessions of an Awkward Black Girl on YouTube back in the day, had Insecure that ran for several seasons on HBO, and she was up on stage with the president of Hooray Productions, Ian Schaefer. And they talked a lot about branded entertainment in this ecosystem. It was really interesting to hear her story because she has this perspective on it from both being a creator, like an actual creator, capital C creator, through the lens of the creator economy. And then also she's a huge Hollywood celebrity. Here's what I thought was an interesting takeaway from her panel. So she recently inked this partnership with TikTok where she's going to be doing several micro dramas for the platform.
Okay.
Here are a couple quotes that she said about that when asked up on stage. She said, "I love to tell stories. Television and film projects are my bread and butter. They're never going anywhere for me, but micro dramas offer an opportunity to take risks, to have direct access to your audience in a way that TV and film don't really give you in the same way. And of course, to generate IP and ownership." She talked about how she was in this deal with HBO. She wasn't allowed to do kind of other things.
Right.
And now presumably she's out of that. And she's able to explore all these other creative opportunities. She saw these micro dramas getting really big on platforms in China and said like, hey, I can do that here. And she's building really this premium, what she calls a premium micro series experience. And she said, quote, "It's an opportunity to create content that prioritizes storytelling and prioritizes our audience in addition to building community. Everybody's on their phone at the end of the day and they're looking for great stories. This allows us to do that for free, which also differentiates this partnership from other platforms. Other platforms hook you and then you have to pay $1 for an episode." End quote. She's referencing these other microdrama platforms. You have to like pay to get more and more and more and more. Yep. She's doing it on TikTok for free. Presumably there'll be some brand integrations
for free. It's not for the viewer for free, but I think it's worth noting that I read that this is like the first major deal that TikTok is doing with anybody to develop original programming on the platform. I don't think there's another one like this.
That totally makes sense. And she's a great person to do it with because, again, she straddles these two worlds. They showed a preview of one of the microdramas she's producing called Screen Time.
Yep, that's the one.
It's fantastic.
I'm sure. She's hilarious.
It looks so good.
She's
great. And I think it's really interesting. We think about this, like, you want to meet the audience where they're at, so you want to be on all these different platforms.
Right.
It's interesting to think of that from like a screen POV and the phone because she has that context because she's been in film, she's done premium television before, and she's like, oh, but everyone's also staring at their phones, how can I be there too? And how can I create creative entertainment product that really meets people where they're at when they're staring at their screens? It's not necessarily novel distribution, Lauren.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah,
But
you
it's
knew
just
where I was
an
going with
interesting
that.
mindset that she's coming at it from.
I think it's more that somebody with her breadth of experience and having worked in, with HBO is still like able to think that way. I think that is what is unique. Is that fair to say?
Totally. I think that's super unique. And also someone with her kind of like pedigree now.
Yeah.
And her creative experience and her talent being like, yo, this is where I want to tell some stories.
Yeah.
It really legitimizes the medium too.
Well, it's just, I think it's interesting. I've been in many meetings at companies, and spoken about how like a lot of folks try to do initiatives with a kind of traditional talent. There's been a lot of stops and starts. It's very difficult to do because there's expectations around everything from hair and makeup to crafty that just don't make sense from a financial standpoint when you're doing things on digital. And there's, people always point to like Issa, Kevin Hart, and they're like, but they can do it. I'm like, they are like unique, special snowflakes. You know what I mean? That just like get it, don't care. I mean, Kevin Hart, I cannot tell you like how many meetings he would be coming to our activations when I was at Facebook, and he'd just be like, what do you need? What do you want me to do? And most people would just be like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not. Sorry. I'm like, there's a very famous comedian that literally was like, I don't need like Facebook. Like, true story. And Issa Rae also had a meeting with her when she was talking about doing a lot of the stuff back in the day. It was like still during Insecure, and but she gets it, and I think it's really cool. And she's not there. She doesn't feel, it seems, that like anything that makes it illegitimate or less than by working on a digital first platform. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it must just be such a fun project for them too, both from a production POV and from this fact that like they get to create so many of them so they can kind of see what sticks.
And then, I'm sure then people are going to be looking to make it bigger, and it's like a whole thing. Okay, Josh, I'm really excited. We have Zach Miller, an old friend, literally an old friend. I literally went to like camp with him when I was like 16, a summer program really. But somebody who, pivoted into this industry, and by, not entertainment per se, but working with creators. And you and I were sort of there when he was like sort of making that decision and figuring out what he wanted to do. And he ended up working with, I don't know, arguably one of the biggest creators out there right now, Jesser. And they've done some really interesting things, kind of recently with restructuring and building out the business. And it was really fun talking to him about everything that they've got going on. Zach Miller, welcome to Creator Upload.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited. So you are president of JesserCo, which is, of course, sort of the overall business with the YouTuber Jesse Rydell. But you recently did a bit of a reorg. Of course, Bucketsquad was how we knew the company. You did some big hires. Give us like a very high level 30 seconds of like what the reorg is.
Well, the reorg, we basically changed the parent company from Bucketsquad to JesserCo. So the holdco bears the name of our biggest brand, which is Jesser. The companies that sit, we sort of clarified the companies that sit underneath the parent co. So we have, a long-standing YouTube, social media, and ultimately other forms of video content business under the Jesser brand. We have a soft goods, sportswear, streetwear, lifestyle apparel business called Bucketsquad.
Yep.
We have two other freestanding consumer companies that we're developing, one which will launch in probably Q3 of this year, one which will launch later in 2027. And all four of them will sit under JesserCo as the parent holdco.
Okay, so many things to dive into. Can you tell us anything, just as you mentioned the Q3 and early, a little bit about those businesses that are going to be launching?
Yeah, we're not saying too much about them yet because we don't want to like scoop the announcement when we actually go live with those.
We're happy to scoop here. We're thrilled.
I know.
Scoop.
If ever there were a place I would scoop.
If ever there were a place, keep going.
Like I was saying before, being on this show is like a pinch me moment. And we have to tell the public that we've known each other since we were 16 at some point.
Something, yes.
I'll let you go into that when you want.
Exactly the same.
I might have like the Summer Discovery group photo in some albums down below me.
Love it.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was your question?
I don't even know. I'm just thinking about summer camp. Okay, wait. No, let's get back. So, the Q3, the businesses that you're going to launch.
The businesses. Yeah. So, the business that we're, launching is, I think we've said a little bit about it. It's related to outdoors, sporting goods, like action, activity products.
Yep.
So probably more in the hard goods space. So we'll probably, I think the way to think about our expansion is we have this media business, we have a soft goods business. We're probably going to launch a hard goods business. We may launch a consumables business. Those are sort of three categories. They're challenging categories. They're not necessarily like massive TAM categories. They can be, but they're not, you don't pick them because they're just huge markets with huge exits. But for us, they're three product categories that we thought were like really native to the content we make, to the audience we have, to what Jessie is all about, the values. And so they felt like they were the most natural ways to get into businesses that natively incorporate into the content.
So just zooming out a little bit. So obviously this is a business that has what one might describe a bit of a key man risk, right? It's really around like one main sort of talent, if you will. You obviously are expanding and diversifying the business. You came into this company, I want to say like what, a year and a half, 2 years ago now.
2.5.
2.5. Jesus,
Yeah.
time flies.
Yeah, time flies.
I would argue, like, based on the work that you've done, is a diversification. Was that sort of the number one goal in bringing somebody like in? Because I think, we were sort of talking before we started, like a lot of creators are thinking a lot about like, when do I hire a president? When do I hire somebody coming in to like help me operate? And so what do you think was the tipping point for Jessie? And like, what was your main sort of, kind of remit and goal coming into this business?
Yeah. So, it's a good question. So I think for Jessie, the tipping point was he reached a certain scale of revenue and size of team that the administrative operations of the business, like literally like management, healthcare,
HR,
finance, expense policies, HR, like a lot of the boring stuff that is like not the sexy stuff. I think that was really the impetus. I think there was probably also, Jessie is a really, really intuitively smart guy. And I think he probably also intuitively felt like this thing is getting bigger and like there are certain things that I know how to do and then other areas and opportunities that I don't. And so I think he probably... The pressing need that needed to be solved was like this administrative stuff. When I joined, the first thing I did was like put healthcare in place and we put management structure in place.
I remember you talking about it. You're like, this has been like the not sexy part of the job right now.
Yeah. It was hard. It was great education to like just dive right into all of that. And get like the tracks laid. But then I think there was also when I was interviewing, I was also talking about things like content syndication. So it's like, you make all of this content, you monetize it on YouTube. Are you monetizing it through other channels? That's a way of growing audience, finding people where they are. We talked about direct-to-consumer monetization, like a membership or something like that. We did a bunch of research on that. And it turned out that the data started to say, this is not a great idea. So I think Jessie knew that there were other ways to make, to grow, diversify revenue. But I don't think the plan was like come in and diversify these businesses. In fact, when I joined, Bucketsquad was already a business. So it wasn't like I joined and it was like, hey, let's get into apparel. But the apparel business was pretty small. It was under $1 million in revenue. And when I joined, one of the first things I did was sort of like, I joined in September. We were heading straight into Q4, into holiday. And so one of the things that we really focused on was like, let's see how far we can push this business in the next 4 months. And like, let's get a signal. Is there something here or is this just going to be a small thing? And Q4 was massive. And then all of a sudden, one of the big focuses, like, yes, a lot of the focus was like, get the administrative stuff in order and make sure the trains run on time and everything is, well structured. But the next focus became, okay, how do we pour fuel on the fire for this apparel business? And in the 2 whole years since then, really, we grew the apparel business from 1 million to over 10 million last year.
That's amazing.
Getting it into Dick's Sporting Goods, which now it's in 75 Dick's Sporting Goods. It'll be in about 150 in the fall. Hopefully more in 2027. But that really, I think, was one of the big unlocks in realizing that we could diversify businesses. It's like Bucketsquad became this sustainable business that was profitable and could grow and fund on its own money. And all of a sudden, I think we started thinking, okay, what other businesses could we do something similar with? Because we've proven that we can, that we can make Bucketsquad a success. I don't think that there's a good answer to the key man risk problem, but I do think that there are kind of two ways that I see the market kind of responding to this. One is building a fully integrated platform where all of your revenue streams are diversifying each other. But you're sort of just acknowledging the fact that like key man risk is going to embed everything. And so in some ways it's like the more new revenue streams you can pile on, the more diversity, the diversity of growth, all of that, helps improve sort of probably the multiple, because diversity and risk mitigation improves the multiple.
Yes.
But your key man risk is sort of maybe diluted because you have so many businesses. So it doesn't feel like it's as acute as it is in one, video business.
Right.
But the other way is that you isolate the key man risk to the video business. So for us, we know that we can't escape the key man risk of Jesser.
Yeah.
But that key man risk is fundamental in the video business, in the Jesser business. But when the apparel business is Bucketsquad, and Jesse is not in every ad, and his name is not the company, it's not impossible, especially now, to look at it and say, all right, this business could 10x again. Then it will not be the Jesser business. It will be this Bucketsquad business that was founded by Jesser. And then maybe it can exit in a way where it's not burdened by the key man risk. And so to some extent, our strategy right now is we have the Jesser video business heavily afflicted by key man risk, relatively slow growing business, relatively profitable business. We have the apparel business, which is not as profitable, in early stages of growth, growing like crazy. And so there's diversity there, but that is an exitable business. The next two businesses we're looking at, maybe those end up being similarly exitable businesses, and that strategy works out. If it turns out, though, that the market starts to really respond to deeply integrated, creator, founder centric platform businesses, we can always bring these different pieces together and put them under one banner and then go out to the market in that way. But the truth is, we're really not even looking to raise capital. So the question becomes like, why do you do one or the other, to exit or to get a better valuation?
What are you optimizing for? I think the big thing I want to just double click on that you said too was that something, and this is so critical, I think, for any creator that's listening, is that something that Jesse, when you in your early conversations, he was saying is basically like, I know what I know and I know what I don't. I don't know what I don't know, but I know there's a lot that I don't know. And I think in my 100 years in this industry, what I have learned is this creators that have been able to grow and basically be on their own little channel, or even if it gets busy, is the ones that delegate, the ones that are recognize that knowing that you don't know stuff is not a weakness, and that's actually your biggest strength, because your biggest strength is bringing on folks such as yourself that can be a better operator and a better monetizer, whatever you want to call it, in ways that you would never do. And then therefore you can, do the things you know how to do really well, instead of spending time doing things you don't know how to do or don't know how to do well. And I think that's so critical when a creator is thinking about bringing somebody in. Are you at that point when there's a lot out there that you don't know how to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I think it, by the way, it takes a very mature person
100%
to do that.
You got to put your ego aside for that. Definitely.
Well, and this funny, so two things I'll mention. So Jesse recently sent me a podcast on HR, which is like amazing to have like a creator partner who's like listening to podcasts on HR, right? Like just to get a sense of like who Jesse is. But in it, there was this incredible lesson that came out, which is that the best criteria on which to hire people is low ego, self-directed, and eager to learn. And like just a fundamental learner, like people who, if they don't know the thing, like they are excited to learn it and get better.
I love that. That's like my favorite. Yeah. That's my favorite. That like all those, I love those. I always say like, I'm not
three things.
Genius.
Like, and when I heard that, I was like, oh, wow. Like that just makes so much sense to me. And so I do think that like fundamentally, like the culture around that comes from the top. And so, yeah, Jesse is a guy who like knows what he knows. He knows that he's like one of the experts in YouTube in the world and has done his 10,000 plus hours and, knows in front of the camera, knows the creative behind the camera, has taste and has strong opinions about like the apparel business and the patterns we use. But also when it comes to the administration of a company, the administration of a media business, media growth strategy, opening new revenue streams, he has opinions, but he also knows what he doesn't know and sort of like lets me do my thing or get out of the way on that stuff. And similarly, like that inspires me. I mean, I like to think I'm smart enough to know that I shouldn't be involved in the YouTube content development, but because I'm not
That's not
cool.
no, not at all. Well, just really quickly on that. So how in terms of I want to get back to the Bucketsquad and all, but just because we're talking about this, how diversified is that media business? Like I know YouTube, I would assume it's the, where is that the majority of the revenue? Is it becoming from brand deals? How diversified and what are the plans around that? You mentioned that you got signals from the market that like, it sounds like a paid subscription model isn't really what the market is asking for right now. So like,
I mean, maybe eventually, but yeah. So for us, look, our content business is really divided into long form and short form. We have leaders who run each of those units. The short form team is responsible for YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, and then all of the social and short form brand deals that happen. The long form team is responsible for the long form content on YouTube. I would say between the two of them right now, for the first time, we're close to 50-50 between brand revenue and YouTube AdSense.
Oh, wow.
But both growing. And so like, we'll see how that shakes out. I mean, I think the interesting thing about YouTube AdSense is that like, and this was part of like my original thesis as to why I wanted to go and find opportunities in YouTube is, when I started looking at YouTube, when I was working at Spotify, there were 1 billion people on the platform. By the time I was done doing that analysis, there were 2 billion, and that was like 18 months. So like the user base is scaling. The content consumption is migrating from computer and mobile phone to flat panel TV, which means the watch times are getting much longer.
I tell you, all the time is the fastest growing service on YouTube that people don't realize or don't think about.
Is
as
TV,
much as they should.
And then the third variable there is CPMs, and all the user growth is coming from places like Indonesia, India, Brazil, markets where the CPMs are relatively low, but also markets where the disposable income is relatively low, and you're not going to have big subscription service markets in those places. And so the free over the air consumption is going to grow, and that means the CPMs are going to grow. And so if the number of users is growing, if the watch time of those users is growing, if the CPMs of those users is growing, the same consumption, the same amount of content is just going to make more money over time. Brand deals are subject to pricing and also subject to inventory availability. So there's a lot more work that goes into fulfilling brand deal obligations on, host-read YouTube content than there is on collecting YouTube AdSense. So, be interesting to see how that evolves.
Getting back to the Bucketsquad at all, you just made a really big hire. Eric Wise, who had been the former GM of global basketball at Adidas. I mean, that's a very legit big kind of hire you brought over. I would imagine, we're not talking to him, but I would imagine he would only come over if he saw like an incredible opportunity to scale and grow. So give me like the high level of like what his sort of remit is, what's happening next. You said expansion into kind of more stores, but like I'm assuming more products are coming out. Like what are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to continue doing what we were doing, but just under Eric's leadership. But I think you're right. I mean, Eric is a 20-year veteran of, the apparel industry, footwear industry. He led Adidas Originals, so there's a lifestyle experience there. He led Adidas Basketball, which is obviously a great aspirational fit for us. He also has a lot of leadership experience on the retail side of things. He spent a number of years working at a company called Sneaker Villa. And so I think what we have now is we over the last 2 years, we built a nice operating foundation to scale the business from like 10x in 2 years. I think what we now have is a leader who has the merchandising vision, who has experience working with retailers and selling to and sort of managing the dynamics of a direct-to-consumer business and also scaling through retail. And I also think we've seen how businesses like Baseball Lifestyle 101 have grown from like 7-figure businesses to 9-figure businesses in 3 years through the evolution of the market kind of growing toward these more youth-oriented startup brands. And so I think it's the combination of like this creator-centric, creator marketed new fresh brands that the kids are excited about, together with an operating leader who really knows how to like plan and plan assortment, develop a diversity of products, source from the right manufacturers, manage operations smoothly. I mean, the thing about an apparel business is that the margins are not great in apparel. And so you have to really be good at operating in order to squeeze out the margins that are necessary in order to fund growth at the rates that you want to grow. And I think one of the things that we ran into over the last year was we were operating okay. The margins were really thin. And then when we hit bumps in the road, we didn't have the excess margin to like fund our way through those problems. And now I think with Eric leading, like I've already seen in the first 2 months that we've been working together, he is thinking like 6 steps ahead, and he's making decisions in the present that buy us the flexibility to address the challenges when they come up. So it's been great. Honestly, it's like a dream.
I'm super stoked to see what happens there. And if you can believe it, we're coming to the end of this. So I just want to ask quickly, because you did rebrand sort of JesserCo, which effectively is a holdco. So I come from like, a lot of M&A in my background. And so I can't imagine that you're not thinking maybe there's some M&A in your future. Is there anything that you might want people to know that you could potentially be looking for if that were in your future?
We're always like open to, I mean, you said something when we were talking before about optionality. And I'm big on optionality. It's like I don't know exactly what the next thing is going to be. What I'll say is I don't think we're really looking to like acquire businesses. I think we're more entrepreneurial than we are like truly acquisitive. I think we think of ourselves a little bit more almost as like an incubator, or as almost more like a venture. Like we're not a venture investor in the traditional sense where we have capital that we're looking to invest, but we have resources usually in the form of marketing and audience and distribution. And so where there are opportunities for us to bring those as resources to the table with partners who have other resources, maybe those partners have capital, maybe those partners have product development, manufacturing, distribution, and we can create new businesses that can contribute to the enterprise value of JesserCo, or that can just be good enterprise value, investments or opportunities to develop, we're definitely going to look for those. The thing is, we have to be careful about doing too many and being too distracted and letting any of them fail. So like we'll only grow as fast as we feel like we have great leadership in place to operate these businesses successfully, where we can then like let our attention start to look at like the next 1 or 2 or 3 things. So for the time being, we're going pretty slow. I mean, we've been going fast, but we're like, slow but steady.
Yeah, no, but I get it. I mean, you're focused, right? You're really
trying
like
to be
eye on the prize here, man. I get it.
We're gonna launch a new business in the fall. We want that to be hugely successful. We probably won't even consider something else until that is like up and running and has good momentum. And then
you'll go from there.
How it is. You start a million businesses.
Oh, sure. All the time. All right, Zach Miller, thank you so much for joining Creator Hub. What a treat.
What a treat for me, honestly.
Only like 50 years in the making.
I've honestly been waiting to be on this show since I was 16.
I love it. All right. Everybody can find you on LinkedIn, and then obviously go all Jesser's channels to watch the content and go buy all your shoes in Bucketsquad. Thank you so much, Zach. It was awesome to have you on. I'm so glad we finally checked that off your bucket list. And thrilled that it was on your bucket list.
It's like a half bucket list because I wasn't part of the interview, Lauren, but Totally.
Oh, you should. The text messages I was getting prior, and he was just like, "Should we chat like beforehand?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Don't worry, it's just me." And he's like, "Josh isn't gonna be there."
I know people are so disappointed.
Like horrified.
I'm sorry, Zach, but next time.
So upset. Just I'm just one half of just a duo that cannot be,
And the reason I wasn't there, Lauren, is because I wasn't possible and
Okay.
was seeing people like Issa Rae. And I think at this particular moment, when you were doing the interview with Zach, Mary Ellen Coe on stage. So again, she's the chief business officer at YouTube. And I've witnessed a really interesting progression of the rhetoric from executives at Google and YouTube when they're on stage talking about their platform. And I think a lot of that has to do because all this data backs up that they're the biggest game in town.
Right.
From their dominance of being the biggest podcasting distribution and consumption platform in the world, to the fact that billions of people tune into YouTube every single day, that they're 12% of US television viewing consumption, and more. So this is what she was talking about, and I'll get to the line I really liked, where she was saying all these other platforms are talking about creators. And basically, YouTube has always been all about creators. And she said, quote, "YouTube is the home for creators' most ambitious projects."
Yep.
I love that line.
It's fun.
And I think it encapsulates actually what's happening in the ecosystem and also sets them above their competitors at the same time.
I mean, just to push back a little bit, like I agree with everything that it's like the best place to go. It's the best place to make money as a creator. But like if I'm a creator and then I'm also getting like inbound from like a Tubi that's then going to pay for do an original with me and do something more ambitious than I could maybe do on my own, which YouTube tried to do and they're not doing, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean?
Maybe
like,
it's starting to be less true.
I just feel like individual ambitious projects require capital and like YouTube's not going to give that. And so that's my pushback.
Okay, so maybe the rhetoric will have to shift at some point in the near future. And I think what Mary Ellen Coe's presentation, I took away from that, along with what I've seen Google and YouTube executives say on stage at places like the Google or YouTube New Fronts, is that if you took like the language and the speeches that they had from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago and today, and you had a Venn diagram, there'd be very little overlap now. Like the sentiments would be the same about, hey, we're all about creators and we're the best place for your brands. But like it's gotten way more sophisticated and evolved as the industry has matured, and also like way more dominant and aggressive again as YouTube has ascended into this prolific and domineering space within the ecosystem.
And also that there's competition out there that's serious.
Totally,
so they need to they're like, we're out here to play. Like, you guys stop forgetting that we are like a number one here. So
and there's Lauren, there's big dollars at stake too. So Alphabet just announced its Q1 earnings. And in the call, it said that YouTube's Q1 2026 earnings brought in about $9.88 billion. This is just in advertising revenue, not in any type of subscriptions revenue. That's a 10.7% year-over-year increase. And if you recall, back in 2018, 2019, when Google first broke out YouTube's advertising earnings, they made $15 billion in ad revenue for all of 2019, $10 billion in revenue for all of 2018. So within a short 8 years, they're getting a quarter what they used to get in a full calendar year.
I know there's a lot at stake. I mean, and it's with more money coming into this sort of ecosystem, more is at stake, more competition, and they can't play anymore. It's just like, let's just get that Times Square ticker up and running and talk about how much money they've paid out to creators.
They totally
and then just
should
do like CC circa like Joshua Cohen mentioned this in like 2012. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you doing a microdrama, Confessions of an Awkward Theater Girl.
Oh my God, dreams.
It's probably been made a couple hundred times.
I mean, like that, yeah, like as if I haven't already made that.
If not there, next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, as well Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.